Good morning, Philadelphia Eagles fans, and good morning, NFL fans, to week 6 of the 2019 football season, where this week our Eagles start a 3-week road trip and head out to play the 3-2 Minnesota Vikings, which could be a playoff preview and a very decisive game depending on who gets home field in the playoffs if both teams make it. Now, what a difference like 2 weeks makes. I have to start it that way, because only 2 weeks ago we just got done losing to the Detroit Lions, sitting at 1-2, Dallas sitting at 3-0, and our season looked not as we expected. Let's just say that. Missed opportunities, lots of turnovers, losses. We didn't expect that. And here in Philadelphia, I'll go through a couple Philly sports. In 2 weeks, yes, our Eagles bounced back huge against the Packers, beat them in Lambeau, and then beat up on a very struggling Jets team. Our Phillies, yes, ended their season, no postseason, but recently just fired Gabe Kapler. Flyers started their season currently undefeated, last coming off a shutout victory here at home against the New Jersey Devils. Hart's first shutout. It's special enough right now, Ben Simmons is even hitting 3-pointers. So that tells you the feeling here in Philadelphia. That's something special moving forward. Like, it seems like all of our pro teams, yeah, the Union have fallen off. They're in 3rd place now. Yes, I do watch the Union, but from our 4 major sports teams, things are headed in the right direction here in Philadelphia. So there's a feeling of optimism here, which then goes back to what I consider our number 1 team, which is the Eagles. This is a football town, football city. We've bounced back, and now we're tied for first place in the NFC East. And now we're heading into a very important stretch in our season. It's not going to be easy at all. And right now we're about to go on a 3-game road trip: Minnesota, Dallas, Buffalo. And it doesn't get any easier when we come back home against Chicago, the Patriots, and the Seahawks. There are some very important games in the future, but we got to focus on now. And now is all about our Eagles playing against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, yeah, we had a big bounce back win against the Packers, and then what all teams are getting this year is a pick-me-up game against the Jets. The Jets have been absolutely horrible, except for this small period of time where Donald has played, and he does come back this week, and we hope he has a big week as they play against Dallas. So Eagles fans are quickly turning to the Jets fans this week, because the Jets are playing against the Cowboys, and we hope they pull that out and win. Because right now the Eagles and the Cowboys are tied at 3-2. Looking forward to that matchup next week. But we're playing against a Minnesota team that's, I think this is the media doing it, but it's a little bit the fans too as well. Still talking about the NFC Championship game here that happened 2 years ago when we won 38-7, talking about, oh, redemption. I think a lot of it's the media. We think about the Super Bowl victory. We're not really thinking about Minnesota anymore. Like, let's get over that. Minnesota has a good team. They really do. But I do think there is one guy I think we got to stop that will cause the rest of the team to fall. I do very much so respect Diggs and Thielen. I really think they're very talented wide receivers. I really do. So I'm not here to diss them per se. I think Cousins is an okay quarterback. I do. I think there's times he can get hot, like any quarterback can get hot. But I think there's keys to making him ice cold. And not like Matty Ice. I'm talking about ice cold like suck, right? But we also have to do our part. But looking at Minnesota, it's one guy that I think will just cause the entire team to just go flat. And that's Dalvin Cook. Guy had a lot of hype coming out of college. He dealt with injuries that kept him out last year, but this year he is running very, very strong. And not just, I think he's one of those running backs that has really good balance and he doesn't give up on the run. So as soon as you hit that guy, and if you don't wrap up, yeah, you might hit that guy. That guy's gonna keep running. So our biggest key this week is against Dalvin Cook. It's our #1 rated rush defense against Dalvin Cook. And run blitzing. And then if Cousins wants to hold on to the ball, keep on going through to him. But we really got to focus on him, because what I have already seen this year is the stress that's been put on the relationship between Kirk Cousins and Diggs and Thielen. They've been going at it a little bit, and we want that to continue. And how do we do that? Not let them get comfortable with the run. It seems like kind of like the same storyline, but it's very, very evident with a team like this. Because they also have a good defense, but we've seen, especially even when they've come here before, that if you make the offense crumble, then their defense follows. And they've had a couple games this year where the offense didn't score that many points. It was actually against the Packers, against the Bears, where the offense came out flat. Now they played good against the Bears. They only gave up 16 points. But there were their 2 losses this year. For us, now we're missing Darren Sproles. Okay, more injuries, but you know what? Like I've said before, we just have to deal with it. This is part of football. I'm not going to sit here and complain. It's like, oh, we would have if we had this. Deshaun Jackson's not going to play. More injuries, sure, it's part of football. Other people have to step up and not make mistakes. Hey, Corey Clement, you need not to have any special teams blunders anymore. Like, we've had some kickoff/punt issues this year, and it's a difference in points. And now we're hitting a stretch. This 6-game stretch, we can't afford any mistakes like that whatsoever. These are all good teams that will take advantage of our mistakes. And you're going to have to come in and be a running back in part of that committee, which now it's going to be 3 running backs, and it should be led, in my opinion, by Jordan Howard. The guy has familiarity with the Vikings because he played against them when he was on the Bears. He's shown that he's a beast. He has good yards per carry. And we should let him run #1 with a running offense, followed by Sanders, followed by a Corey Clement. That takes the pressure off of Carson Wentz. Lately, in the last 2 wins, he's had less than 30 attempts passing, and that's actually been a good thing. I know everybody wants to talk about MVP, blah, 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 and what he did a couple years ago. Sure. If you look at what keeps this guy successful, if he doesn't have to pass it all the time, we've been winning the games. Let's do that. In our defense, let's all acknowledge Fletcher Cox. Yes, last week against a very struggling Jets team, he still had no sacks, but for a reason. He's going to take up all that attention that's going to cause for everybody else, including Brandon Graham with 3 sacks, and you got Hall, and you got all these other guys with all these sacks. Sweat get a sack. All these other guys are getting sacks because Fletcher Cox is taking all the attention in the middle. He needs to continue to do that and understand that's why we're paying him all the money. And even if the numbers aren't showing up, we as Eagles fans need to, I don't know, go to his Instagram page or whatever it might be and say thank you very much for what you do. We recognize it. We see that. Keep doing what you're doing. You might not get the number sacks, but we value that here in Philly because it's helping us win and helping our defense come along. And then, yes, we have to expect that Minnesota thinks that they can throw it against our pass defense. I like Rasul Douglas. I said it once, I said it twice, I said it a zillion times. I like Rasul Douglas, and I think he'll step up. And then whoever we have on the other side, James, it could be Sidney Jones comes back. Jalen Mills is talking about getting back. We got to trust in this. We have really good safeties. I like Jenkins McLeod. I like that. Sendejo's playing against his old team. He's saying there's not a lot of emotions. I kind of don't believe that. When you spend a lot of years with the team, there's going to be something. And then we got Doug Peterson. Who would have thought years ago I'd be talking about how good Doug Peterson is, but I believe him as a coach. I believe in this team. I do. I really do. So this week, it's got a big matchup against a good team with playoff implications in week 6 in an NFL season. And that's what we want. We want that kind of competitive nature in sports. We want that kind of matchup for our team, so we show what we got when we fly to Minnesota and can hopefully come away with a win. No thinking about the past and past NFC Championship games and past whatever. We already have that in the books. We're worried about this week and moving forward because we got news stories to write. It's all about what, Super Bowl 54 with what we want to be representing the NFC. We want to win that this year, which then means we need to win this week and weeks following, and it starts with beating the Minnesota Vikings. So let's go Philadelphia. Great time in Philadelphia sports. We're back on winning ways, and I love this. Let's keep this rolling, and let's start this road trip with a victory against Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins, Thielen, Diggs, and the Minnesota Vikings. And as we do here in Philadelphia, go Birds, baby. E-I-G-L-E-S, Eagles! Beat the Vikings!